honestly, this one hurts a little bit. We're gonna feel some pain on this one. But what's the video about, you ask? Well, Outriders again. The game that had so much potential, and a game that I actually sung the praises of. And you know what? I still maintain that it's a great game underneath all the bullshit surrounding it. But before we get into that, as usual, a quick friendly reminder. We recently passed the first subscriber goal on the channel, which was 25 subscribers, and now we're heading towards 100. So if you like my content, if you like this video, if you want to see more of it, click the subscribe button, see if you can help us get to 100. And if you want to leave a thumbs up or leave a comment, that would be cool too. But let's get back to the actual point at hand. And I think to really understand where I'm coming from here, it would be a good idea, and I'm not just saying this for the views, to go back and look at the other Outriders stuff that I did. The first video that I made on it was about the demo. It was basically saying to people, look, please try this demo because the game is surprisingly fun. Like, the story was interesting for me at least, and I was quite intrigued to see where it went, and the actual gameplay of the demo was really fun. I really had a lot of good times with it. You know, I played every class, I tried everything out, I did as much as I possibly could. I got my money's worth out of it. Obviously the demo was free, but you know, I really got a good time out of it. So I was saying, please try this demo. It's good. And you know, I think a lot of people agreed with me, quite frankly. And then we had to wait about a month for the actual release, which came on April 1st. So I got my game day one from Amazon delivered, and I was really excited to play it. I loaded it up, did all the stuff I had to do, you know, updates and all that. Started playing the game, probably got a good 4 hours or so before my first disconnect. Then after that, it was just impossible to get back on day one. I just could not get on at all. It was just disconnect all the time. It was so frustrating. I mean, luckily the load times aren't too bad in that game, but damn man, it killed so much of my excitement. Just those server issues. And what's funny is that, like, you could kind of forgive them in a way, but then you kind of realize, well, why are they even there? And I've said this like 1,000 times already in my short time on YouTube, that like, it just shouldn't be there. There is absolutely no damn reason for them to be there. These server connections, these always online requirements, they just don't need to be there. And I still maintain that this game was originally made as a live service, and they just pulled all the stuff out but couldn't remove the always online requirement for some reason. I don't know. Again, I'm not a game developer, but I think that's what happened. So, second day was awful, could not get on. Third day, not good, could not get on. Got a few, you know, half an hour stints here and there, and I was so eager to play, I kept trying. Like, most people would just say, screw it, I ain't doing this. But I was like, no, I want to play it. I enjoyed the demo. Like, I want to play this damn game. So I started playing it again, tried to get in, couldn't. Fourth day was utter nonsense. Like, it was just down all day. It didn't even say error. It just flat out said could not connect to server. At which point I was honestly really close to just throwing in the towel and giving up. But the next morning, tried the game again, and lo and behold, it worked. And I was on all day. I mean, literally from the morning till late night playing it. I got a good sort of maybe 10 hours worth of gaming out of it that day, obviously stopping for breaks, food, bathroom, all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I got a full day's worth of gaming on it without one single disconnect. And then the day after that, which would have been about day 5 or 6 at this point, again, solid. And after that, I had zero problems with connection issues. So I suppose they fixed it and had no issues afterwards. I don't know if it was the same for everyone. I know that the PC version is absolutely awful. Like, it is just buggy and just unplayable in some instances. I don't know if the connection was any better to the servers through the PC version. I actually have no idea because I don't play on PC. But what I do know is that Angry Joe had an awful time with it. If you haven't seen his review on Outriders, I honestly suggest you go watch it, because it's a funny watch, but it's also really informative and probably gives you a better overview than I will do right here. But I'm just trying to give you my experience and an average player's perspective, I suppose. I believe they gave a reason for the server being fixed. I think they had some sort of issue where the system they were using for the online servers wasn't able to keep up with such a high amount of data, and they didn't realize that when implementing it. So what happened was they switched to a new solution for that, and after that it basically just worked as intended. So that's a good thing. Should never have happened, but it's good that they fixed it. So you've seen the title of this video and you're wondering, well, how do we get to that? Well, what basically happened was I was enjoying the game, I got all the way through it, I enjoyed the story, I enjoyed the looting, the shooting, basically everything about it. I didn't really have a problem with anything. Yeah, the loading screens are a bit obnoxious, yeah, the dialogue can be a little bit cheesy and a little bit corny, whatever. I don't really care. I've said this before in another video, but I am a massive fan of the Michael Bay Transformers movies. I love all 5 of them to death. I don't count Bumblebee because I actually don't like that one very much, but the other 5 I really love. I watch them every year. I have them all on Blu-ray and 4K Blu-ray. So, you know, take that information and do with it what you will. But I liked Outriders, so I was having a really good time with it. I got to the end game, I was in the expedition stuff, and then essentially what happened was I kept getting issues, which was pretty much the only bugs I encountered, but I kept getting these issues where the mission wouldn't progress and the next part of the mission wouldn't trigger. So it would say, you know, kill all enemies in the section or clear out the enemies in here, and then I would do that and it wouldn't trigger the next section, so I had to quit, which was really, really annoying. Plus, I think I've said this before, but I played the entire game solo, so that's another thing to keep in mind. But yeah, I was going through these situations and it kept doing it. I mean, probably happened, there was one map, I know it happened about 5 times in a row, and then the straw that broke the camel's back was, I got through it, I got to the point that it normally sticks on, and I actually got through, it worked, and I was like, oh, thank God I can finally complete this mission. I got about 15 seconds into the next section and my internet, not their servers, my internet dropped out, and I was so damn mad. And that's not the game's fault. Like, that's not the game's fault. I'm not saying that it is. What I'm saying is, after all the other stuff with the disconnects, I was just like so annoyed about it. I nearly threw my controller. I don't do that. I don't, you know, hulk out and get mad at games, but that was so damn frustrating. And the thing is, I started to think to myself, well, that was my internet. That wasn't their fault, that was me. And then my brain kicked in and said, no, screw them. There shouldn't be an online requirement. Like, I can literally play No Man's Sky, which is essentially an always online persistent world. I can play that without an internet connection. So, you know, not being able to play a single player third person looter shooter is ridiculous without internet. I'm just saying, it's ridiculous. So anyway, that was the straw that broke the camel's back. That was the final nail in the coffin for me, and I ejected the game from the console. I put it in its case. I immediately took some photographs of it and I listed it on eBay because I'm just not dealing with this crap, and it hurts, man. Like, I know video games are just video games. Like, I know. Whenever someone says, oh, I'm so distraught over this video game, like, you automatically go, well, that's a first world problem. That, like, what are you talking about? Don't be so sad. Like, I understand that aspect, but the thing is, people in life like different things. People get excited by different things. They enjoy different things. They have different passions, right? And video games is something that I've always loved since I was a kid, just escaping into another world and not having to contend with the shit outside your window for just, you know, an hour a day or something, you know? And when you get something you're really looking forward to and it lets you down so hard, you can't help but feel that, you know, that sinking of your heart that you get sometimes when you're upset. It's just so irritating, so upsetting, and just unnecessary because it didn't need to be this way. I did manage to do pretty much all of the trophies in the game. I think I needed one more to platinum it, you know, the final one before you get the platinum trophy, and it was a bit of a grindy one, and with the disconnects and stuff, I just didn't bother doing it, so I sold it about a week after I'd started trying to play it, so probably around the 8th or the 9th of April I sold it. But then recently it came out that People Can Fly, the developers behind Outriders, have decided to start the process of nerfing everything that people love about the game, which is such a sad thing to see, especially when it's a PvE game. There's no PvP in this game whatsoever, and there's an article from Forbes written by Paul Tassi that I was taking a look through. It's been reported on various other places as well, but I wanted to give my take on it basically. So the patch in itself does fix a lot of crashing and a lot of bugs and a lot of issues, which is a good thing. Hopefully it doesn't introduce more bugs and break more things like Cyberpunk 2077 did. Hopefully that won't happen, but it does fix a lot of things apparently. But more interestingly is the nerfs that they've introduced into this patch. So the first nerf is to looting and repeating the legendary missions, the ones that allow you to do assassinations and monster hunting. Those used to give you a guaranteed legendary at the end, but they will only do that the first time you complete the set of 10 now, which is kind of ridiculous in my opinion, because a lot of people were using that as a way to get guaranteed legendaries, and it does take quite a bit of time and effort to go through these 10 missions before you get the one legendary at the end. So I don't really know why they felt the need to nerf that particular thing, but I think in the article it says that there's a bit of an exploit that might be known. Either way, if it had to be done, it had to be done, but I think if it was just done for the sake of it, it's ridiculous. Secondly, the timers are being lowered, so the time requirement that you need to finish a certain expedition at a certain tier of reward is getting harder to complete, which that essentially kills any solo people trying to do those. I mean, there will be some people that are just amazing, but generally the casual player base that wants to solo these end things will not be able to because they'll be too difficult. I was able to beat a couple of these expeditions solo at the highest tier, but very rarely. Very, very rarely. It was so difficult. There's just so many enemies. It's not even fun as well. It's just so sweaty, and like you're constantly having to concentrate real hard on what you're doing, and it's just not really that fun. But yep, they've been made harder, so that's a thing apparently. Thirdly, there's been some nerfs to the amount of loot that drops from certain enemies. This is all in the article, which I will link below if you want to go and check it out for yourself. But there's been some certain monsters in the game that the developers felt were too generous with their loot drops and now drop less stuff when they're farmed. Which again, do you really need to do that in a PvE game? I don't think you do, but you know, we're not the developers, are we? And finally, there was some nerfs to certain builds because, again, the developers decided that the builds were too powerful in a PvE game. Even though I've used the builds, and they're not what you would call ridiculous, they're very good, but they're not ridiculous. I don't think they break the game in any way, but rather than going through every single nerf here, I'm just going to say go check the article out because there's quite a lot of information, and this video will go on forever if I do that. But suffice to say, it generally nerfs the bullet type skills where you have like volcanic rounds or blighted rounds, you know, those ones. It generally nerfs those into the ground so that they're probably not going to be that useful anymore, which is a shame because that was one of the builds that I ran. So great. All of this is it just reeks of this game was an online service, and while it's not anymore, I feel like they're going down a route that they should only really go down if this was a live service, which it isn't. So why are they nerfing everything in a PvE game? I really don't understand why. And I suppose that leads me to the conclusion of the video now, really, where if someone was to ask me, would you come back to Outriders? Well, if, say in 2022, they create a complete edition that comes with the base game and, you know, a ton of alterations to the way things work, you know, like a proper overhaul within another year, you know, with maybe any expansions that come out, or perhaps they release it with a giant expansion, because it's probably going to take them quite a bit of time as they don't have any expansions ready to go at present. Maybe I would come back, yeah, just because the gameplay is that fun, you know, I just really enjoy it. But I just don't think at the moment it's really worth your time. I think the best thing you could do right now is get rid of it. So if you've got it physically on disc, I would personally sell it at this point because it looks like it's only going to get worse from now. But what I'm hoping is if they see the player base drop enough, they will either walk back this stuff or they'll do something that will make us want to come back. You know, a giant expansion, something. And like I say, if they brought out a complete edition with all this new stuff in it and reworked expeditions, more gear, more loot, more options, just more of everything, perhaps I would come back for it. But as of right now, I finished the game. Hearing that they're going to nerf it makes me not want to play it anymore, so thank God that I sold it when I did. But anyway, what do you think of Outriders? I know this has been a long video, I know it's been a bit rambling, but I like to sit down and just casually chat to my microphone as if I'm talking to one of you guys. So I hope you enjoyed it, and remember, we're heading towards 100 subscribers hopefully, so if you want to help out, remember to subscribe to the channel, leave a thumbs up or a thumbs down, leave a comment for me to read, and check out all the links in the description. But with all that said, thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.